What do you get when you put together a musher, a writer, a speaker, and an adventurer? Well, you get today's guest. Today's guest is Blair Braverman. She joins me. She's the best-selling author of, get this one, Welcome to the Goddamn Ice Cube. I love this title, by the way. You may have even seen some of her recent articles in the New York Times. And if you haven't read anything she's written, you really need to. She's a wonderful storyteller, and I'm a huge fan. But we also talk about her adventures, and there's many. From being a long-distance musher, competing in many major races, including the Iditarod. But her story's so much more. She loves the outdoors, and I mean, she loves the outdoors. And her relationship with her dogs, there's really no words for it, but her enthusiasm, it's contagious. This episode was a really fun one for me. I mean, who doesn't want to know all about sled dogs? Now, here's a couple fun facts. Nobody actually really uses the word mush anymore. They actually say hike. Now, all the dogs in the sleds, they all have different jobs, much like any other team sport you may follow. Now, try and picture this. You're in freezing weather, makes me cold thinking about it. You're in a long-distance race with your dogs and sled, but like any other endurance race, you got to stop and rest. But you, the musher, who says hike, by the way, you first need to set up beds for your dogs. You need to feed them, and you need to get them settled down. And then you get to eat and rest. You see, the dogs are your family, and trust me, Blair is a great partner and caregiver to her four-legged family. There is no doubt in my mind, when you listen to this episode, you're going to be a big fan of Blair's. And I promise you, I'm really definitely one. So get ready for a great ride as Blair takes us on an amazing journey.
For real, for real, for real, for real, for real, for real. For real, for real, for real, for real, for real, for real. Got a bunch of furry friends and I love them all the same. I'm an animal lover, veterinarian is the name. Let's share some pet stories from heartwarming to strange. Losses and games, from wacky to insane. For real. You're now tuned in to For Real with your host, Markakyle.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the For Real Podcast. Today, I'm telling you, this is one I've been wanting to do for a while. We've had all kinds of problems to get it done. My guest is Blair Braverman. And this is going to be a treat for you guys. We're going to talk about so many cool things. And by the way, not only is she really cool and what we're going to talk about, but she's an amazing writer because I've read some of her stuff. So, Blair, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark. I am very honored to be here.
Well, I'm honored to have you. And now your stuff that you do with the sled dogs, with the patience you have to do, maybe I'm a little bit harder. You may need more patience with me than you do with the dogs. I swear. It's been crazy.
Not yet.
Hare's what I want to do. I want to talk about you. I want to go back in time and we'll move forward to now because you haven't lived that long and you've lived a real big life and done a bunch of things. But let's go back. Where were you born? I know you were in, the thing that always sticks out with me is Davis because I know Chico in that area pretty well. But let's go back as far as you want to go and then kind of move forward and get to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born in Davis, California, and which, if you haven't been there, it's very hot and very flat, and there are no sled dogs at all.
I know.
But I grew up being like, I'm an only child, and my best friend was our golden retriever. Her name was Gilly, and I was always going out with rollerblades and tying myself to Gilly, and I just loved being outside and being with her. And I had these books on my mom's shelf. My mom's sort of an Alaska buff. And so I would go into her office and I would pick up these books that had photos of old sled dogs. And to me, it just seemed like the most magical thing in the world because I loved being outside and I loved dogs, like I loved animals, and the idea that you could just go with multiple dogs who you loved and be a team with them and cross the wilderness like that. Like it just seemed like too good to be real.
I have a visual.
Yeah.
I have a big visual because first of all, guys, you listen, if you don't know Davis, I think it's known as one of the most, for a college campus for sure. Everybody rides bikes there. So I totally see this little girl with their dog. Did you ever like a leash on and they were pulling you?
Yes, I would have a leash. I would like tie the leash around my waist when I was rollerblading.
How cool.
And then when I needed to stop, I would just swerve into the grass and fall.
Okay, I've told you this when we've talked before, but I always go down rabbit holes. And here's a crazy one that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today, but has a little bit about that area. Did you ever go to the rice fields and get the crawfish?
No, I never did.
So you know what? If you go a little bit north there along, I think in a little bit, there's a bunch of rice fields up in that area. And in those rice fields, they're teeming with crawfish.
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah, well, I see. There I taught you something. Okay, let's go back. So your mom had a big thing for Alaska,
Mhm.
and what's the reason for it? She just loved Alaska. What's the deal with that?
She's a real Pacific Northwesterner. So
Oh,
she grew up in the Puget Sound, and Alaska is like the ultimate Pacific Northwest in some ways. You go
sure.
more north and more west, and you get to Alaska. And so she always got Alaska magazine, and she hadn't lived there, but there was Alaskan art in the house, and it just sort of I grew up with that sort of those photos and those books around me. And I always say, be careful what you let your kids read because they really will realize what's possible in the world.
Yeah, that's true. So what's cool about, I mean, again, I see pigtails too, by the way. Anyways, and you're doing this thing. So you're doing that, and I'm assuming 8, 9, 10, or whatever, what you were doing. So let's keep going. So, when I was doing my homework, I was looking at different things because environmental law was your first step.
That was after I had gotten into mushing. So when I was 18, I actually moved up to the Norwegian Arctic and I became a dog sledder. And I had never seen sled dogs before in my life. Never even seen them run past me, but I decided that's what I wanted to do.
Well, that's a question I have for you because I want to talk about the documentary Folktales, which I've seen and you and I have talked about. I want to get there, but so you're an 18-year-old. The movie kind of portrays it's kind of the kids it's a gap year, but some of them are kind of the broken toy island kind of a thing. How did you? I mean. I can see where people live in Norway and stuff like that. How did that happen?
So a little context. There's this form of education in Norway and in Scandinavia that we don't really have here in the US. And it's called folk schools. We do have a couple things called folk schools, but they're actually a different thing than what Scandinavian folk schools are. And in Norway, these are 1-year schools that are completely tuition free. And you go for a year to this boarding school and study something you're passionate about. And the idea is sort of for kids to help, kids find their footing.
Right.
And I had been an exchange student in Lillehammer when I was 16 and someone was explaining this concept to me. And the way he was explaining it, he was actually like a little bit making fun of it. And he was like, these schools, you can even study dog sledding. And the way he was saying it, it was like, it's so impractical. Like, this is not a path for life.
Right.
Can you imagine that people go and study that? But I latched onto that sentence and I was like, wait, there's a place I can go and I can study dog sledding. And from literally that minute on, I was like, I have to do this. And I ended up going for a year after I graduated high school, and I went to a school that at the time was called Folkehøgskolen 69 grader nord, which means the folk school at 69 degrees north, because it's very far north. It's 200 miles above the Arctic Circle. And now this school has changed its name to Malangen Folk School. And I learned dog sledding for a year and absolutely fell in love with the Arctic and with the outdoors and with the dogs. And from then on, I went to Alaska and I worked as a guide, and I came back and I got a semi-practical education, but my heart was with sled dogs from that moment on.
Well, wait a minute. So there's so much in what you just said. First of all, do you speak Norwegian? It sounds like you do.
I do speak Norwegian, yeah.
I'm so jealous of you right now. Anyways, so then let's go to Alaska. You were a guide doing what?
So I became a dog sled guide. So there's these tour operations in Alaska. And if anyone's ever been on a cruise ship up there, they're going to know what I'm talking about, because cruise season is summer, of course, when the water isn't frozen. And that is sled dogs off season. And so the way this works is that there are a number of tour operations in Alaska where sled dogs will live on a snowy glacier all summer long, and cruise ship passengers who want to go dog sledding will fly in helicopters onto the glacier and get to go dog sledding on snow.
Huh.
And this is actually a really great thing because sled dogs want to run year round.
Right.
And so for them, having a way that they can run in the summer is fantastic. And it keeps them in shape and they like meeting people. So the way it works is that mushers will sort of send their dogs to summer camp on a glacier. And then the dogs will pull tourists in the summer and have fun. And then they'll go home to their musher when the season's over. And so I went up there and I spent 7 months living on the Norris Glacier.
Was that on the up where all the oil in that is too, up in the North Slope?
No, it was right near Juneau.
Okay. Oh, I've been through Juneau. So I don't know if I told you this. When I graduated from college, so you're now at this point 19 or 20. When I graduated college from Chico, by the way, which is right by Davis,
Oh, wow.
I took the train up to Seattle and got a job on a fishing boat and went to Inward Passage all the way up and then went around through the Bering Sea at Bristol Bay. I was in Bristol Bay working on fishing boats up there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You must have stories.
Well, I mean, we both spent some time in Alaska. I love it. Okay, so let's go back again. I apologize for the listeners and to you. That's the way my brain works. It just bounces. But so you're up there, because you've gone to school and you fall in love to being a musher, I guess is a good way to do it, because you're raising these dogs. And I want to get into dogs here in a sec. And so you learn how to do that. And by the way, the documentary, and we can get into this later if you guys want, if we get there or not, but the documentary Folktales is a phenomenal documentary. I randomly got to see it, and this was before Blair and I started talking. It's a great story. It's an amazing thing. But I like the background on it and why don't you talk about it? Because the people that did this was after they heard you talk.
Yeah, so this documentary Folktales, it's by Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady. It's an incredible film. You can watch it online, I think, now. But it is about one of these dog sledding folk schools, and it follows kids for a year in the Norwegian Arctic learning to dog sled. And it's not actually about my school. There's multiple schools like this.
Right.
But I have some connection to the film because I believe that the filmmakers decided to make it after they read my book, which is called Welcome to the Goddamn Ice Cube, my first book. And they read about the folk schools in that book and then, went and investigated them themselves and made this incredibly beautiful work of art. I mean, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous film that it'll make you cry. It's really, really beautiful.
Well, the other thing that I think that's really good, because we're going to get into the sled dog thing, is that it gives you an inside look, not quite, but gives you enough to give you kind of a basis to kind of understand, one, the dogs and the people that are the ones that really love it and the ones that are there doing their year kind of a thing too. I think there's different personalities there, but it really, for me, it opened my eyes a lot. It's a beautiful film. It really is.
I think what the film really captures, apart from just the beauty of the Arctic and these specific characters, these people whose stories are coming forward in the film, is the ways that as animal lovers, there's things we can learn. There's lessons that we can learn from animals that we can't learn from people. And it's not because people can't articulate those lessons, but we open ourselves up differently around animals. And so when you're working with dogs, I mean, and all of your listeners are animal lovers, so they're gonna know what I'm talking about. When you're working with an animal, your defenses are down, you're going in a way out of your human comfort zone, and you're really learning about someone who's so different from yourself. And so as young people, the students in this film are learning life lessons from these dogs that they really need those relationships with dogs in order to learn. And I think that as an adult who still works with sled dogs, I'm always learning from them. They've taught me so many different things. And I feel like at different stages in my life, I come to them for different reasons and sort of have different, they teach me things differently at different stages in my life.
So, a couple things. One is I love talking to somebody who's a writer because you articulate well. So, just so you know. But the other thing is, I think what one of the things that I got from the film, and this was without you and I talking much about it, it also teaches you a big sense of responsibility. I mean, they're responsible for you, but you're also responsible for them too, which I think is part of the lessons that's in that school as well.
Yeah, it really is. And it's interesting, like when people learn mushing, like if you're out in the cold and you come in from a dog run, you don't go inside until you've taken care of every single thing your dogs could possibly need. And so people will go on a tour, they'll learn mushing and they'll be cold at the end of, you've gone out and you've run through the wilderness, and then they're like, okay, I want soup and I want to warm up. And it's like, oh no, like we, as mushers, we always take care of ourselves second. That's one of the number one rules. And so as kids, like they're learning the same thing. These teenagers are learning what it's like to take care of someone else's needs before your own.
And by the way, for you guys who are listening, in the description, there's a link to an article that Blair just wrote, and is it a New York Magazine or New Yorker, right?
New York Times Magazine.
Yeah. So this story, and I highly recommend anybody reading it because it really digs into. I love the way you describe it. Is that you get done, you're getting a straw out. I'm thinking, you carry straw with you all the time. But anyways, straw,
we do.
You're feeding them. And you're doing all these other things, and then it becomes your time. But there's a lot more to it than just here, we're going to unstrap you guys and kind of put out your bedding. There's feeding them and all that other stuff because they're burning a lot of calories.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you, feeding sled dogs is a whole process in its own right because Huskies are not necessarily very food-oriented dogs. So they're burning 10,000 calories a day, but they don't really care for food. And oh my gosh, the things we do to try to get them to eat enough. It's like you're cooking elaborate meals with 5 different kinds of meat and bacon and everything. And then they're kind of like, I prefer it with a little bit of a different flavor. And you're like, oh, let me go add some liver. And it's almost comical. And then they'll be like, okay, I guess you made it exactly how I like it. It's like trying to feed a toddler.
Well, and that's all the different personalities, which I do want to get into. But let's go back in time again. So now you're a guide in Alaska.
Yes.
And you went to school for a year. You've learned how to be a musher. You're now a guide in Alaska. What's next? I
was a guide for 2 summers on this glacier. And meanwhile, I was going to undergrad in Maine at Colby College, and I was studying environmental policy.
Right. So you're doing that. And then what?
And then I went to grad school for writing. I went to the University of Iowa and got an MFA.
Well, wait, I want to ask you a question about that, the writing one, because this is in your bio. And I didn't know that there was an MFA for nonfiction writing. I've never even heard that. I mean, I know what it is, but I never heard there was actually a major for nonfiction writing.
There is. So what's interesting is the University of Iowa has this pretty famous program called the Writers Workshop, where I think it was the first creative writing it really pioneered creative writing academic programs in general. And so a lot of very famous writers went there over the years. And it's sort of, it's like the fancy place you go as a writer for fiction and poetry. But then they also have a nonfiction program, which is also very good. But like all the nonfiction writers are like, have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because they're not part of the famous program.
Sure.
So like we were in like sort of a dingy English building, and then we'd walk past the programs. The fiction writers and the poets they literally had a mansion. Their classes were in a mansion. So there was all this drama about different genres, but it was a great place to study writing.
Well, I mean, you do write nonfiction writing. So I always think when I hear the term, I think I told you that I write fiction, but I guess when you're writing articles, that's nonfiction writing as well. I guess I think of it more of like a textbook or something, or like a business book. I'm not really thinking about it. It would be almost like journalism then at some level, right?
Yeah, it's a lot. Journalism is within the genre, or it's within the umbrella of nonfiction. And so what I write is, and I've written a novel as well called Small Game, but my primary genre is creative nonfiction, and that is basically true stories that are meant to be read for enjoyment, not just for information.
Sure.
So it's you use the techniques of fiction, you use dialogue and plot and pacing, but all of the details are true. So you're reporting like a journalist, and you're then writing it up. I mean, a lot of journalists use novelistic techniques, to be clear, but it's
Sure.
a little bit of a hybrid genre there.
Yeah, well, there's a different kind of structure for it. You know what I really like is I like fiction books based on historical fact on stuff. So, because it's a combination of both at some level.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's another way of learning and being entertained at the same time.
So you had no idea we're going to talk about writing instead of talking about dogs. So, anyways, you do it for 2 years, and then what's the next step? You've gone through school, you've got your MFA. What's next?
At that point, I sold my first book while I was still in my MFA, and I had
Wow, that's cool.
it was cool. And the way the advance worked, it was divided up over 3 years, and it was like after the agent's cut, I had like $20K a year, and I was like, I can live on this and be a dog sweater.
Yeah, sure.
And so it was this amazing. I was still on my parents' health insurance. It was this amazing period where I like was able to write, and then I moved up to the North Woods of Wisconsin, and I started working with another musher. And pretty shortly, my boyfriend at the time and I took over a dog team for a musher who was getting out of the sport, and all of a sudden I had 30 dogs.
For real, 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 for real.
And we'll be right back. This one, especially for you new parents out there. Now, I remember vividly being new parents and how excited and how exhausted we were. You know what I mean? Sleepless nights, diaper changing duty, and if you're also a pet parent, the last thing anyone wants to do is clean the litter box. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But have you heard about Litter Robot? Think about this. Never having litter box duty again. Litter Robot, it eliminates the chores for everybody. It's fully automated. I'll say that again. Litter Robot is fully automated. And its app, it also gives you insight to track the cat's weight and bathroom usage. It's a game changer. And the litter box game, it needed to be changed. And I'm on Team Litter Robot. So maintain your cat's litter by focusing on your growing family. Learn more about Whisker Litter Robot models and starter kits today to get set up before your new baby arrives. Take an additional $50 off bundles with code FORREAL when you shop whisker.com/forreal. That's an additional $50 off bundles with code FORREAL at whisker.com/forreal.
As a pet lover, did you know your pet can benefit from the incredible healing power of stem cell therapy? Prep Therapy offers a groundbreaking solution taken right from your pet's own blood. Say goodbye to joint pain, arthritis, kidney and liver conditions, and more. They'll experience faster recovery, increased vitality, and extended quality of life without the need for surgery or harmful drugs. Put the wag back in their tail and discover Prep Therapy today at prepvet.com. Save 10% with promo code FURREALPODCAST, covered by most pet insurance.
So help me and help everybody else that doesn't know, your sport and all that. How much, I don't remember, and I've been in Wisconsin, I've been in Canada. Is there that much snow up there during the winter for people to do that? I'm trying to visualize, I guess is what I'm trying to do.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of snow in Wisconsin. And there's actually the Upper Peninsula of Michigan is a real dog sledding hotbed. There's people moving from Alaska to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan because there's steadier snow there. Mm-hmm. So there's a ton of mushing in the Midwest. Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin has this incredible mushing community. People think of Alaska and they think of the Yukon, but there's so many incredible mushers in the Midwest. And I got involved in that community and was able to start learning from people there. And I loved it so much. I started doing a couple of races. I wasn't interested in, I'm not competitive in the sense that I don't care about winning over other people or other teams. But what I loved was that I could work with these dogs, and then we could go, when we went to a race, all of a sudden we were around other dog teams. So it wasn't just us alone in the woods. It was, we were meeting other dogs and other people, and there was a trail, and there were people, grooming the trail, and dog fans all there, and the dogs loved it because everyone was petting them. And so I started racing just because it was fun to go be in a place where there was community around this thing that I love.
So a couple of things. You told me, you used the word, and I can't remember what it is, when we talk about competitive, you said you weren't, but you used a different word. What was that word you used? Do you remember?
Yeah, I because I've thought about this, because I've done some pretty big competitions. And so it's weird to identify as not competitive, but I think of myself as ambitious, but not competitive.
Ambitious.
So I want to do big things. I set high goals for myself, but I don't care about beating other people in the course of those goals.
Right.
I'm happy if other people are achieving the same or more. That I think is exciting.
Or adventurous is probably another word that you probably use too.
Yeah.
Because it's an adventure. I mean, when I read that article, when you were talking about the wolves that were watching you and then they all went running up towards the hill where they were all there or whatever it was, that's like an adventure. There's a little bit of magic involved too, I think.
I mean, and that's what's so spectacular about mushing. For your listeners, if they haven't had a chance to do it, I always say, if you get a chance to go dog sledding, if you're a dog lover, if you like outdoors, it's one of the most beautiful things you can experience, because the connection that you have with the dogs and the relationships that you build with the dogs is so intense and intimate in a way that you might not get to experience if you're not relying on each other in a situation like that. And I'll plug my friend's business here for a moment. My friend runs a place called Chili Dogs in Ely, Minnesota. And it's a great tour kennel. There's a lot of great places you can go if you want to tour, but that one in particular, all of his dogs are old retirees. Uh-huh. And it's just like the most beautiful, like, retirement home for old huskies, and they're so happy and healthy. And he's had multiple 18-year-old dogs who are still running every day because they like love it so much, and they go really slow. And so there's places like that you learn about that are just magic.
So when she says retire, they're retired from racing, basically, right?
Yeah, exactly. So the way it works, I've had, my dogs who I've had, when they get older, sled dogs, especially long distance dogs like I have, tend to have very long careers, shockingly long careers. So they will, and by career, I mean the time that they're actively racing, that they can really be sort of pushing themselves and doing very long runs and expeditions. My girl Peppy, who's sitting next to me right now, ran all the way across Alaska last year at almost 12 years old. Like a month shy of her 12th birthday, she led a team 1,000 miles. And you can think about it like, there's some human sports where people really peak early. Like if you're a gymnast, you think of a gymnast, they're a teenager, right? Like they're young, and then by the time they're an adult, it can be hard to continue that sport. But then there's other sports like running, where humans can run their whole lives, and dogs are the same way. It's not a sport that they outgrow. It's something they can do pretty much their entire life. And so the thing is, once they get older, once they get to like double digits, I would say, it's different for every dog, but 9 or 10, their top speed gets slower. So they can still run a lot, and they love running and they want to run, but they can't keep up with the younger dogs. And this can actually be kind of depressing for a sled dog because they're
ambitious. They're not competitive, they're ambitious.
No, they're competitive and ambitious. Those dogs, they like passing each other, and they don't like that the younger dogs are running faster than them. And so it can be kind of a difficult time in a sled dog's life, because just as it is for any of us, when we realize that, we're sort of like we're aging out, like aging out of something you love is a difficult thing to do. And so when sled dogs get older and they reach that age where they're having trouble keeping up, they have a couple paths. So some of them just sort of stay on as mentors always. like Peppy, who's next to me.
And also in your article,
Yeah, and she's in the article. She's featured very much if you look up that article. And some dogs want to be pets when they retire, and they really tell us, like, it's very clear if a dog wants to like curl up on a couch and or in front of a fire, or if they want to just be still running, or if they want to be like, they let us know. There's no rule because it's all about each individual dog and what they want. So some dogs stay, some dogs become pets with like our friends and family. We sort of have like a waiting list of people who have been interested in a sled dog for a pet. And then some dogs just really want to keep being a sled dog and they want to run every day, but they can't keep up with the younger dogs. And then those dogs go to my friend Jake's place, Chili Dogs, which is an entire team. I think he has like 60 dogs. I don't remember the exact number. And there's a bunch of people who work there and his whole family's involved. But all of the dogs are old. And so they're all the same speed. And when a dog gets there, when they're 10 years old, they get this like big resurgence of energy because they're like, I'm the young one now and I can like outrace everyone. And they get this whole new lease on life. And it is hard to part with a dog with something like that. Like, I go up and visit dogs who are Jake's dogs now, who have retired from my team. And it's a little bit like watching your kid go off to college. Like, it's
sure.
But then I get to visit them and go on trips with them and they're so happy. And it's, you miss them, but you're also happy for them because they're thriving so much.
So let's talk about mushing and talk about the dogs. I know there's lead dogs and team dogs, and I wrote them all down. I'm not going to look. I'm going to try to remember them all. There's four different. Well, the team dog sounds like more like me. There's a lead dog, and then is it the side dog? Is that the one?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm sure it's possible.
No. Trust me. No, this is Mark being wrong. There's the swing dogs.
So there's lead dogs at the front of the team, and they're called the leaders because they choose the path that the team's going to run. And one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about mushing is that there is any way whatsoever that I, as the musher, am in control. I am not. The dogs, if I want to go right and the dogs want to go left, we're going to go left. And I'm going left with them because I'm attached. If I want to stop and the dogs want to keep going, they're going to keep going. So I have no physical influence over the dogs. And so everything comes down to communication and trust.
Well, okay. Now I'm confused. So what is your job? Just to ride along with them and feed them?
Basically, yeah. My job is to stop them.
Right.
It literally is. Like, people think, oh, how do you get sled dogs to run? And then as soon as they've seen sled dogs, they understand that that's an absurd question. Because the real question is, how do you get them to stop? They love running. They have the same excitement for running that a retriever has for chasing a tennis ball all day long.
Right.
And so people think of sled dogs as pulling, as they're like pulling a heavy weight. But that's actually not really the case. People have attached scales to the lines behind the dogs to see how much weight they're actually pulling. And each dog is really only pulling about 5 pounds worth of resistance.
Really?
Yeah. Once the sled starts moving, it's only about 5 pounds per dog. So really what they're doing is running.
Right.
They're like marathon runners. They're not like weightlifters.
So, okay. So I've got it written down because I'm the worst memory in the world. So lead dogs, swing dogs, team dogs, and wheel dogs. Now, how do you, let's talk by each one. I mean, I know we talked about the lead dog, but how do you know which one's the lead dog? How do you know which one's the team dog, a wheel dog, and a swing dog? How do you figure that out?
Good question. And so just to clarify for people, the lead dog is in front. The swing dog, or the point dog, it's sometimes called, is right behind the leaders. The dogs at the very back of the team in front of the sled are called the wheel dogs, and all the other dogs in the middle are team dogs. And if you can't quite picture that, that's okay. There's not going to be a test.
And typically there's what, 8 or 10 dogs? How many?
Totally depends. You can go out with 4 dogs. You can go out with 16.
16?
Yeah. So a lot of long races and expeditions, you'll go with 16. And boy, when you have 16, you really have no braking power at all.
Right. Well, I guess. Wow.
But yeah, so the lead dog's like another another sort of human projection, I think, that people put on sled dogs is that the lead dog is a kind of like dominant alpha who's just sort of like the CEO who's bossing everyone around and everyone has to listen. And this really isn't the case. One thing I get to do, which is really fun, is I'll give talks about leadership at companies, and I'll always sort of break down the human ideas that we bring and show that, dog teams are way more collaborative than we give them credit for. So a lead dog is actually sometimes a very shy dog or a quiet dog. What makes them a good leader is that they are good at finding the trail. It's not about dominance. It's about they're the ones who are good at determining the best path for the team to follow. And so what makes a lead, and it's also, that's a stressful position because sled dogs are pack animals. So they actually prefer to be chasing. They like being behind another dog chasing them. And so the dog in front, who is chasing nothing, who just has an open trail in front of them, has a more difficult position psychologically than all the dogs who are behind them and have someone to chase. And so that dog is often very independent, and they have to be a very independent thinker. They have to be brave, and they have to be thoughtful. And they also have to be fast because they're setting the pace for the whole team. And they have to be responsive and in relationship with me because I'm giving them directions. I'm saying turn right or turn left, and they have to be listening for those cues from me.
So if you tell them to turn right, which is right G and left is ha, or is it the other way around?
No, that's right. It's G for right and ha for left.
I see. I did my homework.
And actually, my girl Peppy right next to me, who's been a legendary lead dog for 13 years now, just perked her ears when I said,
"Oh, that's hilarious! That's great. Where are we going?" But again, like you said, they're going to do that. How? I guess a good musher, which would be somebody that they respect you to know when you're going gee or ha or whatever it is, they're going to kind of follow. Even the lead dog's going to follow you. That's how it works.
Yeah, exactly. So if the lead dog doesn't think you know your stuff, they might just go the other way, and you're going to go with them. And they sometimes, that can really be a thing because there are times when you have to ask your dogs to do something that they think is a bad idea. And that can be a really delicate situation. So let's say there's a trail they've taken before that they know is a smooth route home, but or let's say there's a fork in the trail and there have been a bunch of sled dogs before you that have gone to the right. And so they're going to smell those sled dogs and think that's the trail they want to follow. They want to go where the other sled dogs have gone.
Right.
But you know that you were told there's a bear den down that trail or something, or a moose,
sure.
or a road, or you know that there's a river that has thin ice or something.
Right.
And so you're trying to get them to go the other way. But for whatever reason, your instruction seems
wrong,
like a bad idea.
Yeah, sure.
They think they know more than you. And you ask them to do that once, they'll listen. But you ask them to do something they think is wrong 8 times in a row, they're going to decide this lady knows less than us and we got to just take control.
Right.
And so it's this balance of, for every time you do something where you're losing a little bit of trust, you have to make sure you're earning that trust back in countless other ways. And you do that by anticipating every need. Before they're hungry, you're coming out with a snack. Before they're tired, you're setting up beds. You're making sure that they're safe and cared for, and they really have no worries. Like, my job is to be a pit crew and just remove every concern these dogs have from their minds. So they're not thinking about food. They're not thinking about rest. Like, they just know like every single thing is taken care of and all they get to think about is running.
Right.
And that's a very restful state for them. And as long as I do my job really well, then I'm earning the trust where I'm able to they'll humor me and do something that that they think is a little bit wrong if I'm asking them to do it. Now, and this can also go the other way. Sometimes I'll ask them to do something and they know it's wrong because they know something I don't know.
Right.
Like they might know, I might say we should cross this river, and they're able to tell with their paws that the ice is thin. And so they're stopping.
Oh, wow.
And I need to know that if they're like, I need to be able to read their body language and trust them and know them well enough that I can tell if they're stopping, there's a reason and I need to figure out why. So they're able to communicate dangers to me too.
For real, 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 for real.
And we'll be right back.
As a pet lover, did you know your pet can benefit from the incredible healing power of stem cell therapy? Prep Therapy offers a groundbreaking solution taken right from your pet's own blood. Say goodbye to joint pain, arthritis, kidney and liver conditions, and more. They'll experience faster recovery, increased vitality, and extended quality of life without the need for surgery or harmful drugs. Put the wag back in their tail and discover Prep Therapy today at prepvet.com. Save 10% with promo code FURREALPODCAST, covered by most pet insurance.
You know, I know you could call it a team, but is it kind of a mixture of a team and a family at some level, I would think almost? It's kind of how I'm visualizing it. You've got a team, you've got you've got your different positions. I'm going to use the term because playing other sports, but it's different positions. You got to trust your line to block for you, and you got to take your lead dog being the quarterback that's going to throw the pass or whatever. But you also become this cohesive unit that's almost like a family, but also a team. Is that kind of what it is?
I think so. And it literally is a family because a lot of the dogs are related to each other. Like we have litter mates and, Peppy runs with her kids and her grandkids. And so you have this really beautiful, like, heritage that gets passed down. But it's interesting when you say that because I think the implication is that a family is closer than a team. But when I hear you say that, I think because of working with these dogs so deeply for so long, my association with the word team is that like that's as close as you can get is in your team.
Yeah, I get that. I'm kind of making my own whatever my teamily or something, because it's a little bit of both because they are family to you. When they're not running, they're still family to you.
Always, of course.
Because obviously you're talking my baby or my
my girl Peppy.
Yeah, my girl, which by the way is family, not team.
Yeah, and then the other thing, of course, if like, I don't know, a dog gets sick or something and they're not able to run, it's not like, oh, that's not my dog anymore. Like that's still my dog and I'm going to love them for the rest of their lives. It's not,
sure,
and that's more of a family than a team. Like I still think they're part of the team, even if they're not running, but it's about the love we have for each other and not just the things we can do.
So again, a little bit back to this because I don't want to just go forever on it. But so when you've got a dog that that's a little bit more independent, that's more the lead dog, and I know that the next one's down or like it's the swing dogs or whatever they're called.
Yeah, the swing dogs, but these are very malleable positions. So there might only be a few lead dogs on a team, but you can rotate the dogs through other positions, and really the way to figure out who goes where is trial and error.
Okay,
you just put them in different places and see where they seem to thrive.
Yeah, well, that makes sense, and because I was thinking, when I was reading about the swing dogs, sounds like they're almost lead dogs in training at some level. Speaking of a lead dog, there's my lead dog.
So leaders who are young dogs who show promise as a lead dog, you'll put them up in swing and that's how they learn right and left. Like they hear you say, gee, and then the dogs in front of them swing right. And they're like, oh, there must be a connection there. And they're sort of able to learn from each other.
Sure. And then the team dogs are just basically the workhorses pretty much.
Yeah, they're along for the ride. They don't have to think. They're just having fun. Yeah. And, sort of a rule of thumb is the farther back in a team a dog is, the less trouble they can get into. So like if you have a dog who's prone to try to chase a mouse, if a mouse runs across the trail, and you might put them a little bit further back in the team because then they're not going to take everyone else with them when they dive for that mouse.
Is that when you use that term on by?
Yeah, on by means don't get distracted.
I'm really proud of myself right now. So, but it sounds to me though the wheel dogs, which are the ones closest to the sled, they're a real intricate. I mean, they're all intricate part, but it sounds to me like when you're doing the way I read it, at least, it's like all the really technical areas and that they're the ones that really help get you guys around all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So a wheel dog, they tend to be the biggest dogs on the team. They don't have to be, but it's helpful to have a really big pair for your wheel dogs. And also it depends. I haven't even mentioned this, but like dog friendships come into this a lot. Like if there's dogs who are good friends, you want to put them next to each other. They have fun running together. So
Sure.
so you might have like a wheel duo. I had my dogs Colbert and Spike have been a really good wheel duo together for years. And the wheel dogs, there's some physics behind this that I am not an expert in, but a bigger, stronger wheel dog will actually help control the turning radius of your sled. And because if you go around a sharp corner, all of the dogs are going to cut that corner. They're all going to be like, oh, we're turning left. I'm just going to like go diagonally instead of going out and around.
Yeah, sure.
And that means that they're going to pull your sled diagonally. They're going to cut the corner with your sled. But if there's a snowbank or a tree there, you're going to hit that tree, even though the dogs go around it.
Right.
And so a strong wheel dog who has a lot of discipline will swing wide on corners to help your sled get around obstacles.
And also keep it from whiplashing too, I would think too.
Yeah, a little bit. They'll sort of help you skid out because these dogs, like, they're not going to crash into a tree. They run around the tree, but the sled doesn't have steering. It's like crack the whip,
Right.
like that game that kids play where they're all holding hands and they try to like whip around the person at the end and there's so much centrifugal force. That's what the sled is going through.
Okay, so you're kind of figuring out you decide you're going to be racing instead of just cruising around giving people rides or something. So you decide you're going to be racing. You've kind of figured out your team. How long do you have to? I mean, I guess it varies based on how good the dogs are too, and how you're trying to build a team or whatever. Does it take a lot of like practice before you do one? I know the Iditarod's the big famous one, but there's so many other ones that are out there that some of them sound even harder than that one. Just because it's long doesn't necessarily mean it's the hardest one. But is there a lot of training that you're doing on a daily basis? How does that work?
Yeah, and I think I want to clarify also that like I think people sort of picture sled dog racing as being in the same vein as like horse racing or greyhound racing just because it's animals racing, and it's really an entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
There's almost no overlap. Like it's really doesn't function the same way at all. Like the way to think about sled dog racing is almost like your turkey trot 5K that families are going down and running on Thanksgiving. And it's not like, it's like people with 6 dogs who want to go be with other people with 6 dogs and have fun. There's no money in it. Let's put it that way. You can only lose money. And so you got to do it because you love it.
Right. Well, I'm going to go back to the dogs, but I want to talk a little bit about you and the personality that it takes to do something like that. So I know that there's a lot of other races out there. Everybody, if they know anything about it, I've heard about the Iditarod, and that's like 1,000 miles long or whatever, and that's multiple days. I mean, the fastest time was what, 14 days or something like that, or 7 days or whatever.
Oh gosh, it was like 8 days.
Yeah, so whatever that amount is, and you're in the middle of nowhere, freezing your ass off for hours. How many, like, do you I know you have to rest. So typically when you're doing that race, how long do you race until you rest and then you start going again? How does that work?
It depends on different mushers will have different strategies. And
Right.
also it really depends on the dogs. Like some people's dogs are, have different body types than other people's dogs. But so for my dogs, what I've done is like 4 hours on, 4 hours off. So we run 4 hours down the trail, and then we rest for 4 hours and camp and set up camp by the side of the trail. And then when that's done, we mush for another 4 hours, and then we camp for another 4 hours. And you just sort of do that around the clock.
Right. So, but I'm going to reiterate something. So you race for 4 hours, then you have to put out all the bedding, which is the straw and stuff. You got to feed them. So you're racing for 4 hours. You're setting them up for a half an hour. You're getting another 2 hours because then you got to get them all ready to go again. So
That is absolutely true. So the dogs rest for 4 hours,
yeah,
but when they're resting, I'm working. And when they're running, I'm working a little bit too. Like I'll often use a ski pole and like help push the sled with a ski pole or something. But
right.
they're sort of doing the hard work when we're moving.
Uh-huh.
And then when we rest, I'm giving them massages and making beds and cooking food for them and melting snow. And I don't really sleep. Mushers don't really sleep.
Well, and the other thing is too is that, and for anybody that's ever spent any length of time in cold weather, you're burning calories, freezing your ass off. Even though you're wearing plenty of clothes, it's still cold, so you're burning energy even if you're not doing much.
Oh my God. Yeah. I think the Iditarod was like 13 and a half days when I did it. And then
Right.
I was also on the Discovery show Naked and Afraid for that same amount of time, 2 weeks.
What do
And
you mean, naked and afraid? Wait a minute.
are you familiar with this? It's like a survival
No.
show. It's a survival TV show where they drop two people in the wilderness naked with no clothes,
Oh, I've seen that. Sure, my daughter
no
watches it.
food, nothing like that. And then you have to survive and then they blur it out, like, so you're not naked on TV. The point is like, it's a survival challenge where you don't even have like the fabric of your clothes or shoes or anything at all. And I'll tell you, the reason I brought this up is because I was on the Iditarod and Naked and Afraid were about the same number of days for me. And I lost like twice as much weight during the Iditarod, even though I was eating like 6,000 calories a day,
Sure.
than I did when I was not eating at all on Naked and Afraid.
Well, you get first of all, anybody that's done any kind of endurance kind of thing like that. I mean, your brain is working at all times. You're looking at things, you're seeing things. Nobody can really fully grasp it unless they've done something similar to that. So you're burning that stuff in 14 days. So basically, you're delirious when you get there at some point.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of people hallucinate.
Yeah, that's crazy. So back to the dogs a little bit because I'm going to talk about them physically because there's been a lot of again, not I didn't do a major deep dive into stuff, but there's some thought that these dogs they're special dogs because their metabolism goes up, their energy level goes up 2 to 5 times while they're racing. Again, they're not really like you're saying they're not focused on eating, which means they're burning calories, but they have to eat, so you have to kind of make them do that. But these dogs are physically like freaks of nature from a specimen being great, and what I mean by that, but they're just at a different level.
Yeah, yeah. So that what's really interesting about that, there's always scientists at these events, and they're always like, "Oh, can we take your dog's urine and do studies on it?"
Right.
Because sled dogs they have this really unique metabolism, and we think about humans, ultra runners. At some point, they hit a wall. At some point, they hit a wall.
Right.
Even the most incredible athletes, and that's because, and this is not my forte. So if someone's listening, I apologize for the ways I'm gonna do my best to explain this, but someone else could explain it better, I'm sure. But we need to turn our food into glucose before we can burn it.
Right.
So when we eat food, there's a delay before we can actually generate energy from it.
Sure.
And eventually you burn up your body's glucose reserves, even if you're continuing to eat. And that's where you'll sort of like hit the wall.
Right.
Sled dogs, I believe, are unique among animals in that they don't need to turn, or at least rare among animals, in that they don't need to turn their food into glucose before they can burn it for energy. So they never deplete their glucose stores. And so a sled dog can actually eat a pound of butter and then burn that energy from the fat. Like they can instantly be burning that for fuel. There's no process by which that has to be adapted by the body.
Right.
So as long as they are eating enough calories, they will not hit a wall. That's what's remarkable. And you see this happen it's a switch. This doesn't happen immediately, but it happens after like 300 miles. And it's called a metabolic switch. And scientists study this metabolic switch in sled dogs where they've gone like 300 miles and all of a sudden they're burning their food without turning it into glucose first. And they get this like huge second wind where they just could go forever as long as they're eating enough food. And as mushers, we see that too, but we don't know, we're not looking at their cells. We're just looking at their behavior. And you see the switch, and mushers call it being trail hard. Like, oh, a team, like a 500-mile race will sometimes be easier than a 300-mile race because your dogs make that switch where they get this huge second wind and they can just keep going as long as they're eating enough. And so the challenge is they do have to be eating enough. And if they're not, that's a big reason that a dog wouldn't finish the Iditarod. Like you'll start with a lot more dogs than finish because, not always, but it's pretty typical. Like, okay, if a dog's losing weight, you're going to take them out of the race, even if they want to keep going, because you're going to be like, okay, I'm the parent here and I'm going to take you out. This wouldn't be good for you to keep going.
Right.
But yeah, it's really remarkable. And they also do not feed your pet dogs like mushers feed their sled dogs. Sled dogs can metabolize vast amounts of fat without getting sick from it. Like other dogs, I think it's pancreatitis. I'm not positive because sled dogs don't get it. So the vets at these races will just be cracking up. They're all volunteer vets who just come out to be part of it. And they'll just be like laughing because the sled dogs will be eating sticks of butter and they can't believe it. They're like, how are they doing this?
Right.
But it's just, they have entirely different metabolisms than other dogs.
As much as I like butter, I might be a sled dog.
You might be. Yeah.
Probably.
They love like half a stick of unsalted butter is a great snack for one dog.
Trust me, I put that on a baked potato almost every time.
You might be a sled dog. Have you tried
But I put salt on there too. Hey, so I read something else too. There's some kind of oxygenation on their lipids too, that they got more oxygen, I think, than other animals as well. So there's a lot of, because, when you hear about like the guys like the Lance Armstrongs of the world are doing competitive biking, one of the things where they were looking at them that they're doping, it was EPO, which gives them more red blood cells, which is more oxygen. So I'm just wondering if that has something to do, did it naturally create that?
Interesting. I totally believe it. I'm not familiar with that one, but
Yeah.
I would completely believe it. Yeah.
So, one of the things I looked up is the word mush.
Yeah.
Do you know the history behind it?
I have an idea of it, but I don't know if it's correct.
Okay,
And I don't know
I'll tell you what I found. And you tell me if this is what your idea is.
because we never say mush. Everyone always thinks we say mush.
I know. That's the other thing I read, which I thought was really funny. So here's because I'm thinking when I was getting ready, I was going, mush, what? That's the most weird word I've ever heard. Where'd that word come from?
We do call ourselves mushers. We just don't tell the dogs to mush.
Well, back in the day, I think they did. So here's the crazy thing. So back in time, the history of sled dogs back in the getting supplies to the miners. And by the way, anybody that's listening, we can get into it now, but I would highly suggest you just look into it because there's a really fascinating story with getting medicine and the whole thing is kind of where the Iditarod started with. But so there were French Canadians up there, and the word for march or hike, I don't speak French, but it's MARCHE, I believe, or SHE. So it's marché. So that we anglicized it, and the guys that were, the guys up there for the gold rush that were having the thing, they thought they were saying maché, and that's where mush came from. It's a completely made up word.
I know, and now like it's a goofy word, being like, "Oh, I'm a musher."
I know. Well, I was thinking about also, again, you're getting to know my humor, but I was thinking about, how you have the lead dog and the swing dog and the wheel dog. My term would be the lazy dog. This is what it would be. But I love the origin of words. But that literally is from the French word that we mispronounced, and that's where it came from, which is the craziest thing ever. So what else have we met? So What else do we miss? Oh, I know what I want to talk about. I want to address this because I know that there's a faction of people out there, there's always somebody that's not going to like what people do. And there's always been this concern about the health of the dogs. And I think you've already addressed it. And I know that, when for you guys, anybody that's listening, if you don't know Blair, first of all, you have to buy all our books and read all of them. But first, before you do that, I know you're a big advocate of the health of the animals, and there's people out there, they always try to find something that's wrong. Can you address that a little bit, people, so understand how well these dogs are really taken care of?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something, it's a question people ask me fairly often because most people haven't seen sled dogs and they're like,
right.
And then they're concerned. They see dogs run a long way and they're like, I hope those dogs want to do that. And I never, if someone has that concern, I respect that they bring that up to me because it just means they're a dog lover and I am too.
Right.
And I'm glad to see people looking out for dogs. Like we should. Dogs are vulnerable. Dogs are like kids. Animals are like kids in the sense that, any sort of vulnerable population can be taken advantage of. And so I'm glad that people are thinking about that and making sure that that dogs are being cared for. I think the biggest misconception is that sled dogs are disposable.
And what's the dog sitting right by you, that disposable dog again?
Peppy 13.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And where's chili dogs from? I don't know. Are they disposable? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that the big concerns that I've encountered are that people will ask me if I know my dog's names.
Oh my God.
And of course, my biggest advice or suggestion or request really is that I think it's so good for people to encounter sled dogs in person or you can go to a race and you can watch them. And as soon as people see sled dogs, it's so clear that this is what they love doing. They're so happy. And as people, we just have the honor of helping them do the thing they love. And they're, they like the cold. It's like a wolf isn't uncomfortable outside in winter. A sled dog isn't uncomfortable outside in winter. They're suited for it. And there have been, in the same ways that most pet owners love their pets, and every now and then there's someone who treats their pets cruelly. Every now and then there will be someone who has sled dogs who treats them poorly, and it'll be very highly publicized. And so when people have just heard those stories, I absolutely understand why they're concerned that the whole sport is like that, the whole lifestyle is like that, because they haven't seen counterexamples. But what I see, I think part of what's so beautiful, these mushers, I've seen so many times, if a musher gets sick and they're unable to care for their dogs, everyone else in the community will take on all their dogs to make sure that no one falls through the cracks and the dogs are all cared for. And it's a community of people who got into this lifestyle because we love dogs. There really isn't another way. There's no other reason to get into it because it costs all our money. Right. It's not like a profitable thing. It's a thing that people do because they love. And I also would say if you have a husky, even if you have one husky or two or other dogs, pointers are really good at this. There's a lot of dogs who love pulling, and you don't have to have a sled dog team to get your dog involved in pulling.
Well, you had a dog when you were little, when you're pulling you around.
Yeah. So look up, if you're a runner, there's all sorts of sled dog sports that aren't specifically being in a sled with a team of huskies. And even as dog sledders, we often have our dogs pulling wheeled carts.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Because there isn't always snow. So you can look up canicross, which is running with a dog pulling you, scooter joring, which is a dog pulling you on a scooter, or bike joring on a bike. Ski joring is a dog pulling you on skis. These are really exciting, fun sled dog sports people can get involved with without having to move off grid and, live in a 100% doggy life.
My dog she's a rescue. She's only 45 pounds, but that dog loves to run. If she was built right, she would have been the best sled dog. I'm telling you, I've never seen a dog who likes to run as much as she.
So there's another thing I'll clarify. A lot of my dogs are only 35 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, they're a lot smaller than people expect. Because remember, they're each only pulling about 5 pounds on the line. So they don't need to be weightlifters. And a lot of male dogs tend to be bigger than female dogs with sled dogs. But yeah, I have multiple female dogs who are like 32, 33 pounds.
Oh, really? I would have never thought
Yeah.
that. My dog doesn't like the cold, though. She'd never like it. She wouldn't like it. Hey, I have a question for you personally.
Yeah,
Do you like the beach? I'm just curious.
I do like the beach. I love anything outdoors.
Because I'm telling you, when I look at pictures of you, I get cold looking. So that's going.
I've never done like at some point I want to do like a tropical vacation and go be on a tropical beach. I've never done it.
You've never done a tropical vacation,
I don't think I have. No,
so you may not like it then.
I think I'd want to like go snorkeling or something, but maybe not. Maybe I would just sit on the beach under an umbrella and drink a
Pina colada.
pina colada. I'll try it.
And then where you could go surfing. Now, what you could probably do is get some dolphins to pull you around.
That sounds incredible. Yeah,
That would be really
I would
cool.
like that.
That'd be really cool. Hey, so one thing. So have we covered every? I'm sure we have not. We've just touched on everything. I'm sure we could have talked a million things, but I don't want to take all your time because we've had so many problems getting this thing done. But I want to talk about. I know you've just started. Matter of fact, this episode's out on the 5th of May. It's coming out today. You're doing your own podcast. Let's talk about your podcast.
Oh, thank you, Mark. And I appreciate you. He's given me some tips and advice, and which I've behind the scenes here.
We'll take that with a grain of salt.
But yeah. So I'm a writer. I have a couple books out, and I have a friend who has a podcast called You're Wrong About, where I'm the survival correspondent. I tell survival stories, and I'm now launching, as of today, when this episode comes out, I'm launching my own podcast, which is called What to Carry, What to Burn. And I will be telling deeply researched survival stories of people who have gotten through incredible things in the wilderness and reflecting on them, the lessons we can learn from them, and just sort of the beauty and the example that comes through in situations like that. And so the first 2 episodes, which are available today, are about Ada Blackjack, who is an incredible woman who was stranded for 2 years on an Arctic island. She had sled dogs, so there's a little bit of sled dogs in this story. And it's just talking about, I'll be telling the story of her life and what she went through and her resilience. And come on over. It's What to Carry, What to Burn. And I'm a little nervous about launching it, so I'd be very grateful if you listen to it and you like it, to subscribe or leave a review or tell someone about it, because it's a new venture for me and I'm really excited about it.
Well, I can tell you from my more than the listeners had time speaking to you and, of course, reading some of your stuff. First of all, you should get all her books. She's a great writer. But 2 is I'm excited to hear it myself because I love the stories. You're a good storyteller, so I think it'll be quite good.
Oh, thank you, Mark. I appreciate it. And I'll also mention, that's sweet of you to mention my books. If people are interested at all in learning about sled dogs and how they live, one of my books in particular is called Dogs on the Trail, and it's really just following a year in the life of sled dogs. It has a ton of photos, and kids could read it or adults could read it, but that's what I'd recommend if someone wants to learn more about sled dogs in particular. That hopefully can be a resource for you.
Well, and I also know that there's a lot of families that listen to the show, and you've got the children's book. What was it called? When Leap Soared? Is that what it was?
I do. Yeah, I have a kid's book that just came out last fall. It's called The Day Leap Soared, and it's a mostly true inspired story, I would say, about some of my real sled dogs and how they learn their places on the team and what makes them special.
I love the name Leap and Sword. I don't know. They kind of sound similar.
She's actually her name was Leap before we found out she liked jumping all the time. She was named for Lambeau Leap. It was a
That's great.
football litter.
Okay, so I can't remember. Are you going to tell the joke? I have a joke if you don't have a joke.
I think you better tell the joke there.
Oh, great. Well, it's not a very good one. So, but it's relative. So for you guys listening, as I always say, the guests always cringe when I ask them to tell a silly joke because they realize how bad mine are and they know theirs would be better, but they still don't want to do it oftentimes. But I always tell people, if you have grandkids, nieces, nephews, your kids, or you want to be on the show and tell a joke, please do. If you email me at mkyle@thefurrealpodcast.com. If you've listened before, you know I've had kids on the show telling the jokes, and I've had a couple of other people too. And I will gladly have you on and there, and you can be out there and you can tell your friends that you were a comedian on a podcast. But if you can do that, that's great. But the joke for the day is, I got to read it again because I wanted to make sure I said it right because it's related to what we're doing. So why do sled dogs make really good coworkers?
I don't know this one.
Well, it's because they always pull their own weight. Okay, that's what I said.
I love it.
Well, you can use it, but I'm sure you're not going to. Anyways, Blair, thanks so much for being on the show. You've been such a trooper. You know, we had some internet issues a while back ago, and we've been trying to get this done. And I'm a huge fan. I'm your new best fan. But thanks so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And you take care. And hello to your listeners. I'm happy to be talking to animal lovers. That's really always an honor and a treat.
Well, I'm excited for your podcast. I can't wait to hear it. And again, for you guys listening, please listen to the podcast, listen and follow, do all the stuff I'm going to ask you to do on my end. But and also get the books. I think there's about 4 of them out there. Also, she's a writer, an Outside Magazine, and a bunch of other things too. So you become a new fan and really kind of support her because she supported me. And then lastly, for everybody that does listen, keep following, doing all those things that gets it out there. Because when you guys do that, you're the ones that make this thing grow. And without growing, I don't get to get great guests like her and get to meet really cool people. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening. For real.
That concludes this episode of For Real with your host, Mark Kyle. For previous and future episodes of For Real, listen via all major podcast streaming sites.